Where did you fall asleep at?
Upstairs.
In your bedroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally forgetting that he was in the suitcase gone.
Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
Winter Park, Florida, a quiet morning. Birds chirping a soft breeze through the trees. And then chaos. A woman frantically calls 911. Please hurry, my boyfriend, he's not breathing. Her story was almost unbelievable. She claimed that they had simply been playing a game, hide and seek. That somehow in the middle of laughter and wine, Jorge Torres Jr., 42 years old, ended up zipped inside a suitcase. And when she woke up, he was dead. But as the hours passed, police would uncover a far darker truth. A story not of childish games, but of cruelty, control, and a love story turned deadly. February 24th, 2020, 8:15 a.m. The 911 operator's voice was calm, steady. The woman on the other end was anything but. We were just playing. I fell asleep. He's purple. He's stiff. Please hurry. When first responders arrived at the Gilwood Park apartments, they found Sarah Boone standing in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Inside the living room, lying next to a battered suitcase, was Jorge Torres Jr. He was unresponsive, his body cold, his skin a haunting shade of blue. The scene was confusing. There were no signs of forced entry, no clear evidence of violence. At first glance, it seemed almost plausible. A tragic accident, two people drinking, playing around, and a terrible mistake that cost a life. But then the officers noticed something. Small bruises around Jorge's eye, a cut on his lip, scratch marks running down his back, details too disturbing to ignore. Sarah Boone sat on the couch, hugging herself, tears staining her cheeks. She told officers the same story over and over. We were drinking. We played hide and seek. I fell asleep. But investigators had their doubts. Why were there bruises? Why the scratches? To find answers, they seized Sarah's iPhone, and what they found would change everything. Hidden inside the phone were two short videos. The first showed the suitcase on the living room floor. Inside, Jorge's muffled voice could be heard, desperate and terrified. Sarah, I can't breathe. Babe, let me out. I can't breathe. Sarah's voice responded, cold, mocking, unforgiving. That's what it feels like when you choke me. And she laughed, as the man she loved begged for his life. 11 minutes later, the second video showed the suitcase had been moved. Jorge's cries were weaker now, slurred, fading. But Sarah, she kept recording. This was no accident, no playful game. It was a slow, suffocating death captured on camera. At the Orange County Sheriff's Office, a small, windowless room waited. Just 4 plain walls, a single table, 2 chairs, a camera silently recording from the corner. Sarah Boone was led and handcuffed, exhausted and visibly shaken. Detective Chelsea Connolly and her partner sat across from her. The questioning began. Sarah repeated her story. We were drinking. We were playing. I fell asleep. But Detective Connolly wasn't interested in rehearsed answers. She leaned forward, her voice low and careful. Sarah, we found something on your phone. Would you like to explain it? Sarah's face turned pale. Her breathing quickened. I don't want to see it, she whispered. I can't handle it. But the facts were unavoidable. Detectives showed her the videos, Jorge's desperate pleas, Sarah's laughter, the cruel words captured forever. This wasn't an accident, Sarah, Detective Connolly said gently. You left him there. You filmed it. He begged you, and you didn't let him out. Sarah shook her head frantically. I didn't mean to, she cried. I thought he was joking. He always joked like that. I thought he'd get out, but the evidence was overwhelming. No laughter, from Jorge. No sounds of play, only gasping, only fear, only a man slowly dying, while the woman he trusted watched and mocked. Finally, after hours of questioning, Detective Connolly spoke softly. "Sarah Boone, you are under arrest for the murder of Jorge Torres Jr." Sarah broke down into sobs, but it was too late. Jorge's voice, his final moments, had already told the story the world would never forget. As investigators dug deeper into Sarah and Jorge's relationship, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Their love story had been poisoned long before that tragic night. Friends, neighbors, even family members painted a troubling picture, a relationship filled with fights, jealousy, and mutual resentment. Police records confirmed it past incidents of domestic violence, broken furniture, bruises hidden under sleeves. Jorge Torres Jr. wasn't a perfect man, but time and again it seemed Sarah Boone lashed out. Over the years, small arguments escalated into violent confrontations. Friends recalled seeing Jorge with black eyes, scratches, and once a fractured rib, yet somehow they always found their way back to each other. At Sarah Boone's trial, prosecutors painted a devastating portrait. They played the videos found on her phone frame by Horrifying Frame. The jury watched silent, stunned, as Jorge begged for air and Sarah laughed. They heard her voice saying, "That's what it feels like when you choke me." They saw no sign of remorse, only coldness, only cruelty. Sarah Boone's defense attorneys argued it had been a drunken accident, that Sarah had no intention of killing Jorge, that she loved him despite their toxic history. But the video spoke louder than any testimony. On the screen, Jorge's voice broken, pleading, fading, told a story no one could ignore. After deliberating for just a few hours, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty. Sarah Boone was convicted of second-degree murder. She now faces up to life in prison, a lifetime to remember the man she once claimed to love. Some tragedies come without warning a single mistake, a sudden accident, a moment that changes everything. But not this one. The death of Jorge Torres Jr. wasn't a random accident. It was the final chapter of a love story, built on pain, resentment, and violence. It forces us to confront a painful truth, that sometimes the people we love the most are the very ones who can hurt us the deepest. Behind the smiling photos and happy moments, there can lurk anger, manipulation, even cruelty. And when that darkness is ignored, when warning signs are overlooked, tragedy often follows. Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres Jr. lived in a cycle of hurt. They fought. They forgave. They fought again. Until one night, the cycle broke permanently. If there's anything to learn from this heartbreaking story, it's this: love should never hurt. Respect, kindness, and safety are not luxuries in a relationship. They are the foundation. Without them, love twists into something unrecognizable, something deadly. If you or someone you know is trapped in a toxic, abusive relationship, please seek help before it's too late. I'm narrator's name, and this is the story of the deadly game trapped inside a suitcase. Thank you for listening. Life lessons from a tragedy. Some tragedies unfold slowly, visible long before the final blow falls. The story of Jorge Torres Jr. and Sarah Boone reminds us of a haunting truth. Love, when poisoned by anger, control, and violence, can become deadly. No one sets out to destroy the people they love, but when small acts of cruelty go unchecked, a harsh word, a controlling gesture, a lingering resentment, they lay the groundwork for devastation. Toxic relationships rarely explode overnight. They corrode silently day by day until something irreversible happens. The most dangerous kind of hurt is the one we excuse, the emotional bruises we hide, the warning signs we dismiss. Real love is built on respect, kindness, and safety, not on control or punishment. If those elements are missing, it's not love. It's a slow motion disaster. The tragedy inside a suitcase forces us to ask, are we paying attention to the real condition of our relationships? Are we brave enough to walk away when love turns into harm? No one deserves to live in fear or pain, not even in the name of love. If you're in a relationship that feels wrong, trust your instincts, seek help, reach out, choose yourself, because the saddest stories are not just about how someone died. They're about all the chances we had to save them and didn't.